My wife insists on giving our newborn daughter her late ex-husband's surname, and even told me she'd rather harm herself than let our baby have my last name. I'm absolutely furious and ready to take extreme action. Hello Reddit I+ here. I was over the moon when I found out I was going to be a dad. The pregnancy wasn't easy. There were complications, doctor visits, and a few sleepless nights wondering if everything would turn out okay. But when our baby girl was born, the world suddenly seemed brighter. Holding her tiny, wriggling body in my arms made every struggle worth it. Or so I thought. The name conversation started innocently enough. We were in the hospital room, just hours after our daughter's birth. I was exhausted but ecstatic, scribbling down the paperwork for her birth certificate. That's when Sarah, my wife, gently placed her hand on mine. "I've been thinking," she said softly, avoiding my gaze. "I'd like her last name to be Winters." I froze. Winters wasn't my name. It wasn't even a family name. Winters was the surname of her late husband, Greg, the man she married before me. At first, I thought I misunderstood her. "What do you mean, Winters?" I asked, my voice tinged with confusion. "Her last name should be ours. My last name." Sarah sighed deeply, her face a mixture of guilt and determination. "Greg meant the world to me. He's the reason I know how to love. Naming her after him would honor that." My heart sank. "Are you kidding me? This is our child, Sarah. She should have our name, not some guy you were married to years ago." Her voice sharpened, a tone I rarely heard from her. "Don't call him some guy. He was my husband. He's dead. You don't get to dismiss him like that." I stared at her, stunned. "And I'm your husband now. I'm alive. Are you saying I mean less to you than a memory?" She didn't answer right away. She looked down at our sleeping daughter, her lips trembling. Then she whispered, "If I can't name her after Greg, I don't think I can go on. I'd rather not exist." Her words hit me like a freight train. What was she saying? Was she threatening to harm herself over a name? I stood there, speechless, my world spinning. The woman I loved was willing to throw away her life, and, by extension, mine and our babies, over a dead man. Over the next few days, I tried reasoning with her. I brought up the importance of unity, of family, of what it meant for our daughter to carry on our legacy. But Sarah wouldn't budge. Every conversation ended in tears and slammed doors. Every night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how our marriage had unraveled so quickly. Then, I discovered the truth. It started with a gut feeling. Sarah had always been open about Greg's passing and the grief she carried, but something about her insistence on the name felt off. I began digging, emails, old messages, even her diary. It wasn't something I was proud of, but I needed answers. Greg hadn't just been her husband. He'd been the love of her life. The pedestal she'd put him on made it impossible for anyone to compare. Not even me. Worse, I found a journal entry from a few weeks into her pregnancy. She'd written about how she felt guilty for moving on, how she wished Greg were the father of her baby instead of me. My chest tightened as I read her words. "Sometimes I wish this baby were his. Then I wouldn't feel like I'm betraying him." I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as I closed the journal. She wasn't just grieving Greg. She was living in his shadow. Our marriage, our family, even our child were all secondary to a man who'd been gone for years. That night, I confronted her. I held nothing back. "Do you even love me?" I demanded, my voice breaking. "Or am I just some stand-in for Greg?" She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I do love you, but not enough," I interrupted. "Not enough to let go of him. Not enough to give our child my name." Her silence was deafening. That's when I made my decision. If she wanted to live in the past, I wouldn't stop her. But I wouldn't let her drag me and our daughter into it. The next morning, I contacted a lawyer. I didn't just want custody of my daughter. I wanted to ensure she grew up in a stable environment, one free from Sarah's unresolved grief. My lawyer advised me to document everything: her threats, her journal entries, her obsession with Greg. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary. When I served Sarah with the papers, she was livid. She accused me of betrayal, of not understanding her pain. But I stood my ground. "This isn't about Greg," I told her firmly. "This is about our daughter. She deserves parents who are present, who aren't stuck in the past." The court battle was brutal. Sarah tried to paint me as unsympathetic, as controlling. But the evidence spoke for itself. In the end, I was granted full custody. Sarah was given supervised visitation until she sought therapy to address her grief. It's been 2 years now. My daughter Lily, her middle name a quiet compromise to honor Sarah's wishes, bears my last name. She's the light of my life, a constant reminder of why I fought so hard. Sarah and I are civil, though distant. She's in therapy, slowly learning to let go of Greg and focus on her own life. I hope one day she'll find peace, for her sake and Lily's. As for me, I've learned that love isn't just about the moments of joy. It's about standing firm when things get tough. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. And most importantly, it's about moving forward, even when the past tries to hold you back.